morning, everybody, and we're coming to you live from the shack.
Live from the shack?
Live from the shack,
I
that's
love
right.
That.
I know, me too. And I'm Maggie Reese.
And I'm John McManamy.
And today we're going to be talking about spirituality.
Faith and spirituality, yes.
Yes. Both. And I know that these can be sometimes like lots of tension for people, but sometimes they can have just a lot of relief and peacefulness. And John and I both come from way different backgrounds, but we work what works for us. We use what works for us.
Well, I think we have something in common. So even if our spiritual belief or faith beliefs are different, there's a certain sense of connection to something greater, and that plays an important role in our recovery. And I've noticed this in a lot of my conversations with people with bipolar. I've had a lot of contact with people with bipolar, and it just seems this plays an essential recovery role. Everybody's got their own way of doing it, so we're not going to proselytize here.
No, we're not missionaries or whatever, go to Buddha or any of those things.
Right.
We're just doing what works for
us, and just finding really your true sense of self and connecting with it. I think that's what it's all about. And I think a lot of times bipolar, we've got a special inside track on this, so we can talk about that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, for me, I grew up in the church as an Episcopalian. I didn't feel anything for it ever. And I grew up in private schools with a Christian, background there. Again, I didn't really believe in God. I was always leaving it up to myself. I had to be a control freak. So I never believed there was something bigger than myself. I am, like I said, I'm in control always. But as bipolar took a hold of me at 19, things started to unravel, of course. That's all about in my book of all the chaos that went on there. But again, I came back to this sense of I'm getting well and my life is going good again, so I don't need anything bigger than myself. But then when I got hit again with my second episode, it was like, that is where I hit. Everyone has a rock bottom, and that was my massive rock bottom, was at 30. And that's where, for me, I went and became a Christian, and I still am a Christian, and I feel like the control factor is now gone, and I have this sense of peace.
Yeah, well, okay, so I didn't become a Christian. Okay, but, I had my period of crisis around age 40. I had a manic episode that really has left me unemployable for, the entire rest of my life. Yeah. And I turned to a spiritual path at around that time. Now, I've been on and off the path ever since, but that got me more into contact with Buddhism. And I don't call myself a Buddhism, but I very much live by a lot of Buddhist principles.
Right. And for you, you find it helps you in times of your lows and your highs and balancing.
Yeah, it's a good psychology, and we can go into that in another video.
Yes.
Because it's got just practical things on what to do, how to lead your life, like things like mindfulness. Everybody talks about mindfulness.
Oh, yeah.
But back in the 1980s, I was hearing Tibetan Buddhist monks talk about mindfulness. So this is where that came from.
Nice.
And a lot of what the Buddhists have to say about leading, a good life, very much parallels Christianity. So you find the more you seek and discover, the more all of these, whatever's on the surface, below the surface, we're really sharing a lot of common ground.
Oh, for sure. For me, I dive into the Bible, and that's where I take things from that, and church. I go to church, and I get a lot from the sermon. I don't really get a lot maybe from the people at church because, again, I'm not a people social person.
Right.
I'm not going there for that. Some people go to church to see others and talk with others. I just want to go for that sermon. I'm taking notes, and then I put that into my weekly problems. We have problems every week, right? All of us do. So I think about that sermon and how I can put it into my life, and And I feel like God's always protecting me, even on my worst days, and I can always pray. And for me, I pray every day, and even if the prayer is short, I don't know, it just brings me to this wonderful place, and it's nice.
Yeah,
It's
there's
nice.
really a lot of good lessons to be learned from the Christian scriptures. Even if you're not a practicing
Oh yeah,
Christian.
you know it better than I do. This guy's read the Bible like 5 times.
Well,
so.
I'm kind of like when I go into something, I'm like a nerd geek about it. I have to really get into it. So as part of my
awesome.
so as part of my spiritual exploration, I did read the Bible back and forth, and it's got hidden lessons in it, or it's got lessons that you can draw from it yourself that that may apply just to you. For instance, my favorite book of the Bible, Maggie, is Ecclesiastes. Now that's one a lot of people are familiar with. Pete Seeger wrote a song based on Ecclesiastes, and the Byrds did a recording of it back in the 1960s. That's a kind of
The Beatles song, right?
Yeah, it's the Byrds.
Oh, the Byrds.
The Byrds, and it's turn,
Yes.
turn. Da 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 da. A time to be born, a time
Yes.
to die, a time to.
It's right out of the book of Ecclesiastes.
It's right out of Ecclesiastes, and it's almost like when I read that with kind of a Buddhist mind, it was like, wow, this is a very Buddhist, because it talks about some of the Buddhist principles of impermanence.
Right.
We're ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Yeah.
We can think we're really hot stuff, but at the end of the day, we're a dying old man in bed.
Definitely.
And so this book has a lot of wisdom in it for me. And one of the things I quoted from Ecclesiastes in my first book, Living Well with Depression and Bipolar.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I gave a talk to a group of people, and I mentioned the book of Ecclesiastes in a particular version of it, the New English Bible. It says something like, we're put on this earth to be tested.
Yeah.
And boy, if you think, what kind of test we've been given, this test of
I know.
this test of bipolar.
It's a hard test.
And we're laughing about it, but that's good because we
Yeah.
are facing this. I think every one of us is out there has faced it with courage. Now, it may not feel like it's courageous, when we're falling to pieces and feeling sorry for ourselves. But what we've been through. The Book of Job is another one.
I feel like I'm in Job all the time.
Yep.
Oh, really? Another thing. I am so screwed here. Everything is awful.
And the name Israel. Okay, so when Jacob wrestled with an angel, then God named him Israel.
Yeah.
And Israel means wrestles with God. Because when he had that wrestling match, the shadowy figure revealed himself as God. So basically, we're wrestling with God. It's not like God is looking after us all the time. God is throwing a lot of problems at us. And, so both Buddhism and Christianity and Judaism, they basically teach us we're handling a lot of problems that God has thrown at us. So that's how I look at it, Maggie.
Yeah, that is so interesting. No, I love to hear other people's views of how they take things, and I am not one to attack people with how there are different views of religion or whatever works, but I just know for myself,
Yeah, but it's got Christianity. Your faith has gotten you through.
Oh yeah,
a lot
my
of
faith
stuff.
is
So
definitely.
why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I at my worst when I had postpartum psychosis. My friend took me to a church in San Diego called The Rock, and I heard Miles McPherson speak, and just something, it was the craziest thing because I'm a super stubborn person and I did not believe in God at all, but to be that ill, and I'm sobbing in this church and I'm saying there's something out there watching over me and I need to just let go of this control, and I invited Jesus in my heart, and I sound like the Jesus freak that I am now but I am, and I own it.
It's okay to say
me.
so.
I'm like, Jesus, oh come on. But I felt from that moment on I was not alone anymore. even though I have my wonderful husband and my daughter, and I have so many friends and things around me, but I feel like Jesus is my rock, my foundation of everything, and without him I can't get through my day. And that's me every day. I always go back to Jesus, and then I've found friends that are in that same place with me, that some go to my church, some don't, but it's just nice to have this community to help me through, and to have God at my center. And my dad is also a big believer too. He'd always, around the house, my brother would march around the house saying, "Walk by faith, not by sight." And that was his first memory verse in 2 Corinthians 5:7, I think it is.
Oh, 2 Corinthians is a very interesting book in the Bible.
2 Corinthians, yeah, with Paul. Yeah, he's talking about Paul.
Oh, let me just jump in here because, here's a guy that God's literally anointed to carry on his mission in the world. So if you think you have God on your side and you're doing God's work, he's going to make it easy for you, right?
Right, it's not the case.
In 2 Corinthians, Paul lets it all out. It's like a therapy session.
Oh, it is.
It's like, I have been set upon by mobs. They've sunk my boat twice.
Yes, everything.
I've endured starvation. Mobs have set upon me. I've been beaten up. I've been imprisoned.
Everything.
It's like,
You couldn't get worse.
I'm doing God's work.
Why can't I get a break?
What? Give me a break. On one hand, I could almost picture Mel Brooks doing,
Yes.
reading Corinthians, in a Brooklyn accent, and it would sound amazingly funny.
Yeah.
But Paul is just pouring his heart out because it has been rough. And once again, this kind of relates to Job and Ecclesiastes. We're being tested. So the message I got out of Corinthians, and it's kind of like what we're doing here, Maggie. We're getting the word about bipolar, but it is tough. I mean, I fall on financially hard times. People don't always appreciate what we say. They patronize us. We put up with a lot of stuff, and it's like,
And it keeps coming.
It keeps coming. We're doing good work. Why is it so hard? Why?
And I still ask that question. Sometimes I wrestle with God and I say, God, seriously, I have been through enough. I've been through 2 massive episodes. I have at points lost everything, been in mental institutions, had every awful thing happen, and why me? But then sometimes I realize I get a letter that says, Maggie, you saved my life. Thank you so much because of what you said, blah, 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 in a speech. So then I'm realizing, for me anyways, I think God uses me as a tool to help others. That's all I can come up with because I think that's, what the heck?
Well, I think it's very true. Yeah. I mean, whether you actually believe in a God or not.
Right.
If we didn't believe that, if we didn't believe, I think this gives us a sense of meaning in our lives. If I wake up, depressed and miserable and go to the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror, I mean, I'm looking straight into my soul. And if there's no meaning in my soul, I am dying in slow motion.
Yeah.
So right now,
it's like, why finish the journey?
Yeah, so it's like all the stuff we've been through, but yet here you and I are right here together in the here and now, Maggie, and it's very rewarding.
Definitely. There is purpose.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to finish I'm always saying race because my thoughts are racing. I used to race, but I have to finish this race in this life to get to where I want to get later. And for me, it's eternity, but for others, I don't know what it is for you, but I have to finish this race here.
Yeah, I have to find my rest stop. It's almost like I have to come. Okay, so we go to the Bible again. It starts out with the Garden of Eden.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, this is it. This is what we're born to be, and I gotta return to my garden. And the last book of the Bible gets into this. I mean, they're bookends.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
Because we've got. And that whole middle part of the Bible, actually, we can kind of interpret it as our longing to get to the garden. We may call it the promised land, and along the way we say, why God?
Many times.
Boy, and there's a lot of this why God in the Bible.
Yes.
And once again, Mel Brooks is perfect
Yeah.
for the part.
Oh, for sure.
But then, you know, we get to that end of the Bible with the book of Revelation. Now, forget the end of the world part for right now.
I know, we don't want to go
because
there.
it all turns out fine in the end.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, this is where it all turns out fine in the end. We're returning to the garden, only we're calling it heaven. In the beginning, it was heaven on earth. Now
Right.
we're kind of like heaven in heaven.
That's awesome.
But I
So
feel,
well
but I feel I have to find my heaven on earth first.
put.
When I find my heaven on earth, and I think this syncs with a lot of Buddhist and Eastern beliefs too. When we find this peace and our stillness within us, our heaven on earth, then we can make our heaven in heaven. So that's my interpretation only.
Yep.
But this is what I mean about the spiritual or the faith path. We, you know, we read these wise words, we hear wise people, we make our own decision, we connect our own dots.
Totally.
And
we both can't. I feel like I can't live without mine, and I feel like you can't live without yours.
oh, I can't
right?
live without mine.
Totally.
If I'm just a bunch of meat and bone, and that's all, and you know, from the day I'm born, I'm dying in slow motion. No, that's
No.
not a belief I can live by. Now, if it turns out at the end of the day, you know, all the lights go off, you know, I can be fine with that. You know, if I found my own garden within myself.
Yeah.
So.
And how awesome would it be if like more people were able to get along like this instead of pushing? You know what I mean? You and I are like totally different, but yet we can get along.
We can get along. We find
Where
that
all this other stuff and chaos right now with religion is so crazy.
Oh, it's a crazy
so
world out
crazy.
there.
And if everyone would just stop and listen to each other and accept each other for this or that, then and not go push, push, push.
Yeah,
we might have a different place here.
And I wish I could just move the camera around, because you know what Maggie has out here in her house is basically this beautiful, peaceful garden. So it's like, you know, there's just a sense of peace that it's the world that's crazy out there. They're trying to make us crazy with their crazy stuff. But, and yeah, we've got to learn to live in that crazy world, but I think it's important that we find our own center first. And here we can, you know, center ourselves.
Well, I'd say that's a wrap, John.
I'd say, Maggie, that is a wrap. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
And we'll
we've
plug
got
our...
books.
We've got books.
We've got books.
Our gift shop, yes.
Yes. So my book is Runaway Mind, My Race with Bipolar Disorder, and I've got coping skills in here. It's the latest edition. And John's got...
This is my Bipolar Expert series. This is my first book. There's going to be more coming out. This one, not just up and down, is on moods, and there's going to be more on recovery, relationships, and so on. And be sure to subscribe to our channel and get on our email list.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Maggie.
All right, bye-bye.
Woo! They've sunk my boat twice.
Yes.